Hey, what's going on? This is Greg Valentino for MD's No Bull Weekly Show with Christian Duque. That's my boy, bro. Christian Duque's my boy, so stop fucking around. It's the Momo Mafia coming at you. Yeah, you know you're a Momo. Get on MD, No Bull, and watch No Bull Weekly with my boy Christian Duque. Man, I love Christian. He's a good guy. Don't let the Mafia come give you a hit. Watch Christian Duque every week on No Bull Weekly with Christian Duque. Stop fucking around.
Good morning, everyone. Christian Duque, MD No Bull Weekly, Episode 5, brought to you courtesy of IronMagLabs.com, your go-to source for all your bodybuilding and fitness supplements. Today is a beautiful Wednesday, July 19th morning, and have we got a lot to talk about today. Greene in India, Flexatron Psych Out, Dennis James and Dennis Wolf training together, Bostin Loyd calls out Regan Grimes, Masters Nationals, functional muscle, and a message to Shawn Ray. Okay, so let's get started with Greene, as if we have not talked about him enough. He is in India. There are videos all over the place, him getting mobbed. There's one video that Aaron Singerman took that I put on my Instagram and then I put on my Facebook. And Greg Valentino was like, where are all the women at? And I was like, I don't know. And I tagged a bunch of people, and one of the people was Ron Harris, and he couldn't find any women either. Which, yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. And then there's another video of him being fed cake by a couple of dudes or whatever. I don't know. It's just bizarre. But what's even more bizarre than all of that, and the ribbon cutting and the boarding and exiting of Learjets, what's even more bizarre, like 10, 20, even maybe 100 times more bizarre, is the fact that this guy could win the Mr. Olympia, but we do not know if he's going to do it. We don't know if he's going to sign a contract. We can see all these photos emerging. He looks fantastic. The last Ronline report that I saw, Ron Harris asked Kevin Levrone, the Maryland Muscle Machine, what he thought of Greene, and he said, well, my God, basically said that the guy is dialed in and he's ripped and he's balanced and he could, be a force to be reckoned with at Mr. Olympia. I mean, Levrone doesn't just say that about anybody, and we don't know heads or tails what Greene's going to do. You know what I mean? It's crazy because it's a huge disservice to the fans. It's a disservice and disrespectful to his fellow competitors. It's a disservice to Weider AMI because they can't promote someone who may or may not do the show. And it's just so selfish of the guy, you know what I mean? And I just really don't know what else to say except for the fact that I can't make sense out of it. I really can't. He's not getting any younger. The Mr. Olympia is the only title that determines the number one bodybuilder in the world. It's a very, very small, very, very elite club. He could be in that club, and I don't know what he's thinking. Okay, so let's talk about Flexatron, Shawn Rhoden. Now here's a guy dying for media attention, and deservedly so. Second runner-up at the Mr. Olympia, first runner-up at the Mr. Olympia. Arnold Honors, made the comment just recently to Flex about a few weeks ago saying, Phil only won 3 Mr. Olympias, Kai won the other 3, and he still didn't get any press. A lot of pundits didn't even know he was doing the Mr. Olympia, and now, through his sponsor, they're putting out a series of advertisements calling for the new era and basically implying that, Flexatron will be the next Mr. Olympia. Now, if we recall, the last Olympia where Phil and Kai competed, the 2014, the one that was supposed to be aired on national television and never was. Some people say because of the antics at the press conference, the antics on stage, but people say a lot of things. But if we go back to that Mr. Olympia, Phil was noticeably angry with Kai because Kai was signing posters as the next Mr. Olympia. So one can only imagine what the Gift's response to these ads that are just blasting all over social media that say, Flexatron's going to be the next Mr. Olympia. And Louis Marco is actually reported on. Now, we all know that the top guys look to Louis Marco and, they take his word, pretty importantly, especially Phil, especially Kai. So, who knows? Now, let's talk about Dennis James and Dennis Wolf. Now, these are two guys that historically have worked together, but not quite in the way that a Chris Aceto or a George Farah or a Chad Nichols or a Hanny Rombad would work with someone like from, point one, day one, all the way to the stage. No, these guys historically, at least what's been, made available to the fans and to the people is that DJ would help in the end, here or there, last couple of weeks, that kind of thing. to see Dennis James and Dennis Wolf training this early, because the word is he's going to be doing the 2018 Arnold Classic, is really huge. And it looks like he's come out of that neck surgery 100%. He's got the size. You could see it. You could see the exercise that he's doing. He's very flexible. He's putting on the muscle mass again. The pictures say a lot, but it's not just pictures. It's also videos. It's videos and pictures in different lights in different places. There's not a lot of manipulation. You can tell that something really great is happening. Now, if the 2018 Arnold Classic is anything like the 2017 Arnold Classic in terms of the fact that the top 3 Olympians won't be there, maybe because they don't want to peak twice in a year, they want to save themselves entirely for the big dance, I don't see anyone stopping Dennis Wolf in Columbus next year. Now, let's talk about Bostin Loyd, who goes by the moniker of Big Daddy B. I don't know anybody that actually calls him Big Daddy B, but I know that is his moniker. He has called out Regan Grimes, saying that he challenges Regan to a pose down anytime, any place. He will outsize him without any effort. Now, in his defense, Bostin, I did not just read his update and then come up with a story for you. I contacted Bostin. We had a little bit of an exchange. I told him I was doing a story. And I asked him, I said, what would Regan have to do, Bostin, for you to be a fan? And he said, well, Regan has 0 freak factor. He said he doesn't see Regan ever being a top 5 Mr. Olympia. And he compared his genetics. I think the guy's great, but he compared his genetics to Cody Montgomery. Now, the issue that we have here is that Cody and Regan and people like Santi Aragon and like that, they have great aesthetics. And bodybuilding, historically, and in my opinion, should be today and in the future about aesthetics. But Bostin represents a sizable segment of the bodybuilding audience that cannot be denied. It's irrefutable. They're there. That believes that mass, size, freak factor are what should determine the number 1 in the world. And to me, honestly, I respect Regan so much because of the fact that he's so mature, especially for his age, because he sees that he has a great physique. He sees that he has great lines. He's not going to blow out his abdomen. He's not going to become blocky just so that he can also be a mass monster just like the next guy. Now, Bostin compares Regan to DLB, Dana Lynn Bailey, because he says that he's great to the fans. He has a great following. He said that he's making more money than most IFBB pros. All that may be true. He's backed by BPI Sports, which is a massive company. And, he says, that in that sense, he deserves that. You know what I mean? But to me, honestly, to say he's not going to be a top 5 Mr. Olympia at this stage of the game, Bostin, it's very premature. I mean, the guy just he debuted top 5 in Chicago and got runner-up in Vancouver. Now, you could argue, well, maybe that's not the Mr. Olympia, that's not the Arnold Classic, but hey, they're IFBB-sanctioned events, and he got 2 top 5 honors. At one show, he almost won it. So the reality of the matter is I would have to disagree with Bostin. All right, let's talk about Masters Nationals. Now, Masters Nationals, I spoke to Gary Udit. Gary and I are good friends, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but when someone's my friend, I call him my friend, He's been running Masters Nationals since 1993, and I asked him, just out of curiosity, how many competitors would be at this year's event. And Gary told me, this is just mind-boggling, he said 1,120 competitors. And he also said that over 150 IFBB Pro cards would be awarded. I mean, just imagine that, over 150 Pro cards. Now, a couple days ago, I interviewed a great guy. His name is Rob Kreider. And now Rob has been on the national level since 2002, getting thirds and seconds, coming ever so close, but not getting the pro card. Could you imagine, for 15 years, this guy's been on the national level, doing USAs and North Americans, and now Masters Nationals, and he's done another Masters Nationals before, but he never quits, never exhibits poor sportsmanship, has never jumped ship like, some have done to go to watered down federations that are here in 6 months and gone in another 6. And, the reason that I'm mentioning people like Rob Kreider, like my good friend Scott Canazzi from Perillo Performance, who's also headed out to the Masters Nationals, is because the IFBB Pro card is incredibly valuable. It is the only pro card that opens doors all around the world. And so when people tell me, the pro card isn't what it used to be, or bodybuilding isn't what it used to be, I say, hooey to that. Because the reality of the matter is you have people, like Rob, like Scott, like Joe Thomas, like Jerome Ferguson, like Bob Ciccarillo, like, Vinny Galante, just people that will stop at nothing until they get that pro card. You want to tell them that a pro card isn't valuable? Really? Go tell them. I'm sure they have some choice words for you. Now, the other thing I'd like to talk about now is Frank Budaleski. Now, Frank, I met at this year's Arnold Classic. I did a great interview with him. He's with Team 5%. The guy is massive. And when I say massive, you have to understand, this is a company that has Paulo Almeida, the freak. And I remember a few years ago, Akeem Williams was with a supplement company that uses a lot of Greene. And I had brought Paulo Almeida to Akeem to take a picture. And Akeem's like, oh man, you brought the biggest guy here. That's how big Paulo was. Now, Akeem is actually pretty gigantic. He was gigantic then, but he's even more gigantic now. He's at Blackstone Labs doing great work. He just pulled, I think, what would he pull? Was it 600 pounds for 5 reps? And he was chewing gum and watching TV at the same time. I mean, this guy's a monster. But Frank is bigger than Paulo Almeida. That's how big Frank is, okay? Now, Frank is also, in addition to being a pro bodybuilder, he's also a pro arm wrestler. And on September 9th, he's facing off against the undisputed, never beaten, okay, undefeated, that's the right, undefeated arm wrestling champion of the world. Now, this gentleman saw Frank, and him and his fanboys and fangirls and whatever, they're like, oh, this guy's a bodybuilder, he's not strong, he looks strong but he's not strong. And it's that stigma that bodybuilders aren't strong, even though you got people like Ronnie Coleman and Ben White and Johnny Jackson and Stan Efferding who can rip phone books for fun. The stigma is bodybuilders aren't strong. So I guess that this, undefeated champion started doing his research on Frank and realized this guy's a monster, and now he's a little bit more reconciliatory. But I want to wish Frank, the best of luck, and please don't break the guy's arm off, do it for bodybuilding, just beat him. But that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. And finally, I want to just send a quick message to Shawn Ray. Everything was resolved a couple days ago, but I had told Steve that I wanted to talk to him, and my whole plan was to talk maybe 2 to 3 minutes and just say, Shawn, I respect the hell out of you, which I do. To me, the message boards are just banter, locker room, chit chat, spend the time, whatever. So a lot of times I'm eating my dinner or, just having a shitty day, and I go on the forums for some laughs. That's all it is to me, is laughs. But, it's very subjective. I could be writing something that I think is funny. Someone else could read it and think it's serious. So I do respect the hell out of Shawn. But our 2 to 3 minute conversation ended up being 44 minutes. And I asked him if I could text him from, time to time to see what he thinks of the show, maybe get some feedback. And he said I could. I have a world of respect for Shawn. He's been with MD for over 8 years, brought a ton of money to the magazine, a ton of content, Hall of Fame bodybuilder. I asked him if I could do this video, include him on the video, because I, had no intention of doing it. But I slept on it. It's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? And, yeah, I want to do it. So, till the next time, this is Christian Duque, MD Noble Weekly.